Yes, you just got off the phone with a motivated seller and you got the information that you were looking for. You found out the condition of the property. You found out that they wanted to sell it fast, but the problem is the price they want is way more than you want to offer. So how do you get them down on price? I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do so that you can get them down and sign the contract at the price you want to buy it at. Check this out. Hey, it is Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and what we're talking about today is something that comes up all the time. This is incredibly common because right now, anybody, any property owner can go into Google, put in their address, and there's 4 or 5 websites that pop up immediately that give them an estimate of what their property value is worth. And guess what? They believe it. They believe that whatever the internet says their property's worth is like an appraisal on it, or is the real value of their property in its current condition. And we know that's not right, but we need to educate our sellers and really find out if they are truly motivated. Now, what this really comes down to, and this is critical, listen to me here, this comes down to their timeline. All right? What is their timeline? I want you to be listening. I want your antennas to be out like crazy. I want the timeline for these property owners to make a decision, to sign a purchase contract with somebody, whether that's you, hopefully it's you, or somebody else, is within the next 30 days. That's what you're listening for, because that's going to really show you if they are motivated. Let me break this down even further. Okay? You called up somebody. I'll give you an example. You call up somebody and you're having a great conversation. They tell you you're going through and you're really pulling out the 4 pillars of pre-qualifying, right? The 4 pillars of pre-qualifying any distressed property owner is condition of the property, timeline to sell, their motivation to sell, or what is their problem, and their price. And you're pulling this out. You find out the condition is in rough shape. It needs to be updated, or it needs to be upgraded, right? It needs to be cleaned up. Maybe it needs significant rehab, all right? You find out that they want to sell it quickly, that they want to get rid of it. They're finally at the end of the rope. They're just sick and tired of dealing with this, and it's making them sick and tired dealing with that property, and they're ready to make a decision. You find out that maybe it was a rental property that's been, just beat up by tenants over the years, or maybe it's been vacant, or maybe they inherited. Whatever their motivation, you've got the condition, their timeline, their motivation, but then they hit you right between the eyes with, I want $200,000 for it, right? And you're looking at this property on Zillow, and guess what Zillow says that property's worth? $200,000. And you're like, oh, they don't understand. $200,000 is what their neighbors are selling for in retail condition, in fixed up condition. I need to educate these people. So here is my suggestion, okay? Because your number is more like 120, 130 to get that property under to make it a deal for you, right? We're at 120, 130. They're at 200. This property checks all the boxes except for the seller's expectation of price. So what I want you to do is, if you are in that market, you need to schedule an appointment to meet with that seller right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Let me tell you a very fundamental rule of wholesaling real estate. Time kills all deals. All right, time is not your friend in this. You want to be in front of them, you want to start that relationship with you as soon as possible, and you want them to make a decision as soon as possible, all right? So then you go on that appointment, and what you don't do, let me tell you what you don't do. What you don't do is you don't cause friction in the relationship by telling them they're wrong. All right, you got to tell them they're absolutely right, right? They look at the property, and you ask them, how did you come up with the price of $200,000 for the property? And they say to you, well, that's what it says on Zillow. That's what my neighbor sold down the street. I got a postcard from a realtor saying that they just sold a house exactly like mine for $200,000. And you go and you dig into it a little bit and you realize that this property has been upgraded and their property hasn't been upgraded, right? And you say, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you're absolutely right. You could get $200,000 on the market 100%. But let me ask you, do you know of the costs involved in selling your property? Right? And they go, well, I know that I have to hire a real estate agent. I know that I got to pay some title and escrow fees. I know I need to fix up this property. And then you start going through it and you go, okay, listen, if you want $200,000, which I totally believe that you can get $200,000 for your property. All right. So we've got $200,000 and you can write it right in front of them. Just to let you know, to hire a real estate agent to handle the sale of your property, it's going to cost you 6%. So 6% of $200,000 is $12,000. Now listen, I'm only showing you guys this so that in the situations where it's a property that is in rough condition, right? If this property is already fixed up, what are you doing? Have them list it with the real estate agent. Get a referral fee if you have a real estate license, or check your licensing laws in your state so that you can get paid on these opportunities. But you can refer this to a real estate agent if it's a clean property and they don't really need they don't really need to trade equity in their house for speed and convenience. Remember, that's what we're looking for. So we're looking for these properties that are in rougher condition. We're looking for these properties that they want to sell it now. Listen to me, this is a huge mistake. Before I even go into this breakdown anymore, this is a huge mistake that a lot of people make as you're starting to build momentum in your business, as you're starting to stack your experience in this business, is that you go on these appointments, but they don't have to sell for forever. It's like open-ended. Listen, people will live in a distressed situation for a long time. You probably have a family member or a friend or somebody or a neighbor that's been living like this, living in like a junkyard for forever. All right. A lot of them don't, they're not to that point of ultimate stress where they're ready to sign a contract. So the timeline is so important. You got to pull that out, and you got to make sure that you're not forcing people that are going to drag you along forever to try to make a decision now, because as you break this down, it'll make sense to them, but they're not going to make a decision because they're not at that point yet. So the timeline is critical. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. We come out with 3 videos every single week. Make sure you don't miss any of them. You go, okay, at this time you're at their house, you've toured their property, or if you're doing this virtually, just get on FaceTime with them and have them FaceTime through the house and have a FaceTime meeting or a Zoom meeting with them right there in front of them as you're going through these numbers, you're going through these. So this is agent cost. Okay, so they got $12,000 off the bat. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you also realize that you have to pay title and escrow fees or closing costs with a closing attorney? Are you familiar with that? The average of a $200,000 house is about $5,000, right? You're at $5,000. And then here comes the big one. Based on the condition of the property, it looks like, and I'm just doing rough estimates here, I haven't run it all the way through, but it looks like it's going to be about $50,000 to fix this up. That's new kitchen, that's new appliances, that's new floors, that's new bathrooms, that's, landscaping, that's fixing up the air conditioner, the roof, the pool equipment, whatever it is, right? Whatever is there that is going to make this retail ready, it's going to cost about $50,000. Do you agree with that? And most of them will agree with that. I'm telling you, if you get most contractors, you just call them up off of Google, or you call them up, they call somebody up that's referred to them. Most contractors are going to come in to renovate a whole house. It's going to be like $50,000. But we know that fix and flippers have the cost way below that, almost 50% below that. That's how we're building in our spread, if that's going through your head right now. So you got $50,000, Mr. and Mrs. Sellers, to fix this up so that it is in the same condition as the properties in your neighborhood that have sold before. Because what you're seeing here, this price on Zillow, this price on the internet, is assuming that the property is in updated condition. Right? That is the most important thing. Does that make sense? Yes, that makes sense. All right, great. So you got closing costs and you've got rehab. Well, now, what's that? 1767 off of that puts us at $133,000. $50,000. Now, are you in a position, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, to invest $50,000 into the property to fix it up? No, we don't really want to do that. Well, that's great, because that's why I'm here. That's why I work with people just like you, because for $130,000, I can buy your house cash, or whatever, 120, whatever you want to do. You could go $120,000. I can buy your property cash. And the best part is, I buy it completely as is. You don't have to put another cent into the property. Not only that, I'll pay all the closing costs. Not only that, you don't have to pay real estate agent fees. It goes right through the title company, who's a third party, and they're gonna make sure that on the time that we put on this contract that we're gonna sign today, see what I'm doing, future pacing, on the contract that we're gonna sign today, on this date, this is when you're gonna get your money for this property, and you don't have to deal with any of this. Because you know what else that nobody really talks about is how long this takes to do. You said you wanted to sell your property in the next 30 days. Well, I can get this done for you on your timeline without having to put through all the stress of hiring contractors, making sure they show up, putting it on the market, having people come through the house, having a professional home inspector come and nitpick every little thing that you didn't even think about. And then they either ask you for a price reduction or they ask you to do more rehab and more fixes to the house. Instead of doing all that, we can just do it for $120,000 right now. Yes, you could make $13,000 more if you went through all this, but you can handle this right now in your timeline without having to deal with any of the headache. What would you like to do? And that's what it is. That's where you want to go. You want to make it a logical choice for them to choose. They don't want to go through all this hassle. They don't want to go through all this. Remember, this only works for properties that need some love, that need some renovation, that are outdated, that are, have been rentals for forever, and they just need a complete refresh on these properties. This isn't going to work for properties that should go on the market. Listen, if they should go on the market, tell them to put it on the market. All right? You need to determine before you go on that appointment, what is the condition of this property? Okay? If the condition is rough, this is your strategy. If the condition is in good shape, refer them to a real estate agent and move on. But this is how you get people realistic with the numbers, right? This is how you get people to be able to come down on their expectations of price, not because you're trying to snake the deal, not because you're trying to lowball them, because logically this makes sense. I'm telling you, this is powerful. It's a step-by-step. If you explain it the way that I did and go through it and be on their team, this has to remember the ultimate rapport is collaboration. That is the ultimate rapport is collaboration. You want to be on their team. You want to be there as an advisor. And if they're ready to take that cash offer, you're ready. You've got your contract there at the appointment and you get it signed. That's how you do it. That's how the pros do it. That's how you break it down so that it makes the most sense. Got it? I know you've got this. I know it. 1,700 millionaires are made every single day in this country. When is it your day? When is it that date on the calendar that is your day that you become that? It starts with taking action. It starts with making an impact in your community. It starts with being honest and educating property owners that have expectations based on just their own research. You can do it. I love you. I believe in you. Till next time. See ya.